Pair of road wins, 19-3 at Augsburg on Friday, and then 11-7 in a GLIAC game with Concordia St. Paul on Sunday. To get started, we didn't talk last week as the Cats had a bye week for once in a blue moon, but do you feel like that bye and getting a chance to kind of rest up and recharge before hitting the road again kind of gave you some fresher legs this week?
Definitely. At the beginning of last week, we were at about 15 healthy people in practice, and that's about half of our roster. So we really needed that a couple days during that week to just get our bodies back. And also it gave us a nice, really long time to be able to prepare for Concordia St. Paul, which was nice. But ultimately, it was just about how can you make sure your body recovers while maintaining that fitness level and maintaining like high level practices. And I think we did a pretty good job of that because they all did look physically better and less in pain this weekend, so that was good. We really needed that week off. It's good.
So then the trip started, like we said, with that 19-3 win against Augsburg. It took care of business. You kind of expect that when you play down a division. But what is the importance then of actually just going out and being able to do that? In those games you expect to do that, it's another thing to actually go out and do that.
Right. From the start, our goal for that game was just to play at our level and not let ourselves drop into the chaos that you can sometimes see with those Division III or NAIA games. And we did a really good job there, just solid ball movement. Defensively, we were solid. We didn't play a lot of defense, but when we did, it wasn't violent. We were calm. We were able to cause turnovers in the midfield pretty easily against that team. And mostly just on offense, the ability to have that many people touch the ball is really good, especially in a week where we didn't get as much turf time as you would want because the turf was up. So that was a good way for us to get touches and run through our offenses and get some good looks to goal and create some chemistry before that game on Sunday. And inside in a dome.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask you about was, of course, Augsburg was on the schedule in the first place because Upper Iowa, who was in the GLIAC last year, ended up cutting their program. And we had talked last year, as the GLIAC had just 5 teams in it, about what you were kind of hoping to see from the GLIAC in terms of, like, you know, expanding or getting some more teams and some more good competition in the league. The league's actually been doing the opposite. When the Cats joined the league in 2017, they were one of 8 teams, and now they're just one of 4. And also, those other teams haven't been consistent either. Going back to, again, 2017, when the Cats joined the league, only Northern and Grand Valley have been the 2 teams that have been in the GLIAC that whole time. Mm-hmm. So, at this point, do you still have that optimism for the path forward for GLIAC lacrosse, or do you potentially see a set of circumstances where the Cats maybe play elsewhere?
I've been promised by a lot of different people, including the commissioner of the GLIAC, that we're going to just keep pursuing keeping lacrosse in the GLIAC because it is such a up-and-coming sport that schools are adding for enrollment purposes, for Title IX purposes. It is one of the only sports that we are seeing continuously added places, and it's an appealing thing for universities when the GLIAC is like hunting to try to get new ads in general for as a whole conference. So that's why, even though there are 4 teams, our commissioner has really assured the true GLIAC team, coaches, which is just me, Grand Valley, and Davenport, that they are really trying to push to when we add schools, they want to add schools that have lacrosse, and that she's really pushing schools in our conference already. Like the first thing she says before every meeting is like, have you thought about adding women's lacrosse? So like that is still there, which is great. And at least for next year and the year after that, we are still going to be within the GLIAC and just hopefully building teams. Obviously that creates a lot of room for non-conference play where we have to kind of work pretty hard to fill our conference, which isn't ideal. But I think because the 4 teams we now have, even though it's only 4 and that's ridiculous, are at least all solid programs that should theoretically be pretty high in the region. And so if there was going to be a base, this is the base that I would trust for them all to stay fairly relevant. So that's that. Would it be nice to have more than 4? It sure would. You always hear the whisperings of like Ferris has been in the talks of it since I got this job. People have been saying that. They've been saying that about Saginaw. Northwood, who was in our conference last year, just added it. So it's interesting to see that. But I stay hopeful.
So then getting back into the on-the-field action, we've talked a lot this season about the importance of being able to execute and being able to pull out those games that are decided by 1, 2, 3 goals. That's kind of what that game against Concordia St. Paul was. Dealt with a little bit of early adversity, battled back into it, took control, and then just didn't let it go in the second half. So talk about the way that your squad was able to kind of respond to that early adversity and the way that they continued to respond in that second half by answering each one of the Golden Bears goals.
I think we started a little slow and a little cold, and you can always tell that when you're not used to. I mean, we're spoiled 70 and sunny in the dome all the time, so when we play in that snow, the first couple reps are always your hands are tight, and the way you throw and catch is different, and you have to get used to the way your body needs to be in the cold, or just the starters as they are on the field more, they'll warm up and they start playing a little more normal. But you could tell from those first couple reps when we got down a couple of goals that we just weren't sharp yet. But after that, this is one of the best defensive games that I've seen. Lauren Riegel was excellent, and our goalkeeper had an amazing game. She had like an over 60% save percentage. She is a Minnesotan and played AAU with like half of that Concordia St. Paul team, so that's always fun to see that matchup. But I just think ultimately we started slow, and then just the build that we saw in that game was really important and also really impressive, because that's what you need late season. You need to be able to like not panic when you get down and instead be like, oh wait, we actually know how to play lacrosse, and we're used to being cold. Maybe we should just function. And it got a lot better. Offensively, we had good movement. We had some good looks. Our shots just were directly at the goalkeeper's chest a lot, but at the end of the day, we still scored 11 times, which is enough to win when you have the defensive performance you did. Only allowing 7 goals against a team like that has such an overall team high shooting percentage is really impressive. And so it's a testament to our defense's ability to turn the ball over that game, and also just offensive possession. Even if it didn't always end in a goal at the end of the possession, we did hold the ball and not turn it over because it ended in a shot. So overall, like, when you go to Minnesota and over half your team is Minnesotan and you have way more fans there, despite the fact that it's like 29 degrees and snowing, than the other team, this is the way you want the game to go. So it's cool.
Talk about moving forward now. Obviously, finishing up at home has got to be an appealing feature, but also you guys have won 3 straight, 2 of them against conference opponents. Now it feels all of it is almost culminating to that Grand Valley final. Don't want to overlook Davenport, but where's the team at moving into the final 2?
We're going to spend a lot of time this week talking about in practice how we can make defensive changes from the last time we played both Grand Valley and Davenport. Grand Valley does a couple different offenses that when you look at them, they're very obvious in the way that you should guard them. Whether or not you can actually execute the like defensive coverage the way you need to is we'll be able to see if we can do that, but at least the plans are clear for that team. Davenport runs a lot of off-ball motion to distract from their 2 best players. And then when we played them the first time, that first quarter, we let those 2 players kind of run away with it. Obviously, that we turned that game around pretty significantly, but I think going into, especially into the Davenport game, being able to execute, recognize those 2 players, and not have them slip through the cracks kind of the way they did in that first quarter last time we played is going to be really important. But the scheme this week to guard that Grand Valley is going to be really important, because if you want to try to be competitive with them, you need to hold them to under 15 goals, and that's really hard. It's going to take a great goalkeeping game, a great defensive game, and we need to win the draw, because we lost the draw, I think, like 22-8 the last time we played them, which you can't win a game if you do that. So try to use our brains this week in practice, figure out some schematics. So yeah, it'll be fun.